This is my map editor. I've made this for a rhythm-based game that I'm working on. The point of it is to make the design of maps a lot more visual and allow me to more quickly just throw things together. It's a bit inspired by OS's mapping tools. First, let's do the most important part of mapping, placing a timing. Watch this. Wow, I know. A timing is basically a part of the song that you want to map out and add events to, which we'll get to in a second. But you will notice, the moment I made this timing and selected it, in the bottom left, there was a change. This is my keybind debugger that I set up, which is all procedural, and it just loops for all the keybinds that exist. Any action maps that are enabled will be shown here, or any keybinding that is disabled will be faded out. Back to editing the timing. You can change a few properties about this, where it starts. This one starts at the beginning of the song, because that's where the song starts. The BPM, which is a useful thing to change, and the time signature. And when you only have one of these timings, it's pretty flexible. You can just do whatever you want with it, pretty much. But when you introduce a second timing, which you can do because this is such an advanced system, it only works on bar change. You'll notice, even though my cursor is over a non-bar change, it put it at the bar change. So the reason you can only place things on a bar change is pretty simply just to make my code easier. When you can put a timing change on anything, calculating that beat number in the top left becomes a bit of a nightmare. And it also means you're working with a lot of floating points and things get scary. Easier to just put it on a bar change. I did speak to a few musician friends I had to ask if they had ever seen a piece of music where a timing change happens not at the end of a bar. And they were like, nah. So I felt justified in doing this. But now that we have another timing, if I try and change this, you'll see it changes in large increments instead of the normal things that was happening before. And why is that? Well, it's to keep it so that the change still happens at the end of the bar. So when you change the BPM, it actually just adds or removes an entire bar. And when you try and change the time signature, it tries to preserve the number of bars that you already have. And you'll notice my janky selection highlighting there. I pretty much just put it in for this video. Yeah. We'll leave that one in. But this timing thing is just a guide, really. When it gets to how this actually interacts with the game, you'll see that it has no real bearing. But instead of trying to map this song from the ground up, I'm just going to load a previously made map. As you see, we've got saving and loading of maps, which is, of course we do. And this is the map I've already made of this song, Meow by Anna Managuchi. I don't do anything with this intro, so we're at beat -66. And you'll see, we just kind of go for a while. And you might immediately notice the new challenger, this little blue tick that's now green. And what these are the bread and butter of this editing software game thing. And we'll go to a part with more of them, because I haven't really mapped the start. And these describe different events that are meant to happen during the game at this point in the song. So from here, it's a sound I associate with this little computer cat. And every time one of these things comes up, it'll get called in the game, normally as an iterator. So let's say over here I wanted to add a special event, the Nia event. The format I'm using for this is the name of the method, and then any variables you want to go along with the method. And you'll see, because this one is large and there's a couple of events already around it, it automatically stacked to not be parallel with the others. You can zoom in to make it less stacked, but I quite like this stacking. Because this system isn't the most robust thing I've ever made, if you try and place a second event on top of the event you've just made, you'll get a weird bit of a bug. In this case, it selected the one that I've already made, but if I delete it, there's another one below it. And that can be a bit annoying. Not really a problem, though. So when you're done editing your amazing map, you can smack F1 to save your amazing file. And that'll spit it out into a little .dance file, as you can see here. And this is sectioned up into two parts. The top half is all of the events, of course, which have the time and what you actually want to call. And something to note is that this is time. This isn't a beat or anything. It's completely independent of the actual timing that was used in the editor. That's really just there to help you map things out. And at the bottom, you can see after this little equal signs, there's a new type of thing. This is the actual timings that you can use in the editor. Right now, I'm not using this for anything except from loading in the editor. But I do want to actually use this in the game for a little visual display, hopefully. So to actually run any of these functions, I had to write a little thing with the reflection library. This little run method, which takes in the name of the function, what the function is attached to, and any parameters that you're passing to the function. And it basically searches through the functions on that thing, tries to find a match, and then runs it, if it can. So for an actual example of something that uses this that I've set up, I've got this song Picatrix that I mapped a tiny bit of because I liked it. And it's got this function teleorb, which is basically just a logical wrapper for this triangle-i enumerator. And what this does is every time you call it, it will do something slightly different. So it will progress the event, pretty much. And that's the basis I'm doing a lot of my scripting off of, where I can just call one function each time and it'll progress it. So this actually allows for some rather complex behavior, where things look like they were scripted perfectly for whatever just happened, but actually they're rather adaptive. And this isn't a very adaptive one, but I can show you it in action. And there's this part of the song where it goes, "You pick your..." And that's all driven by the .dance file that the editor put out. Right, now that I've spent a week making the editor, I can actually make other things. Yay!